at one time, typically 2 to 3 supervisors in here, but 6 share the office. As you can see, completely overrun with training records, equipment, and again, to ask our officers or our supervisors to use this small space, it's becoming very difficult for them to manage a shift when they're in this type of environment. As you can see, other than our filing cabinets, we are now stacking tubs that we have regularly buying from WB Mason to store our records in and keep them secured in these offices. So again, unless it's just continually buying filing cabinets, we don't have any other room to safeguard these records. This is the police department's central records area, and you'll see that we've run out of room and we've just added cabinet after cabinet after cabinet. And this goes back to several of the records that I mentioned we can't throw out. This serves as the hub of all town servers, and clearly we have outgrown this room as well. So as you can see, we have really used up all the space that we possibly can between our police vehicles, our mountain bikes, our speed sign, and in fact, our animal control officer has nowhere to put her temporary kennels, so they end up on the floor in our garage. So as you can see, this is the men's locker room facility. One thing I would like to point out is the buckling of the floor. We have had constant sewer issues where we are constantly relying on the DPW and doing work orders to correct this old plumbing. This is the training room for a total of 40 officers that we have, including our civilian staff. And we just can't provide training for everybody at once. We can no longer host community meetings because, as you see, we have an arrest coming in right now. We would have to have everybody leave, go to the lobby and wait until everybody was processed and out of this area, then bring them back in.
So this is the only connection inside between police and fire, and it joins through the boiler room. So you can come on in here and you can see, as you can see, everything in here is extremely dated. There have been attempts to update them over the years, but the building just doesn't sustain them. It's just so old and so difficult. Everything from thermostats that don't actually control what they're supposed to, air conditioning units that are constantly failing, circulator pumps that let go, and pipes that are breaking and leaking. It's a constant problem in this building. Another problem with this building is asbestos. This building has asbestos in it. It was built before the prohibition on asbestos. So that's another issue of any type of reuse or expansion of this building, is it would have to be remediated. Some of our gear rack storage, so that's fire gear. The problem with it is, it's out in these trucks. Even though we have these yellow hoses that you can see attached to the truck that collects the exhaust, it's still difficult to maintain a perfectly clean space, and we're getting these diesel particulate carcinogens on our fire gear that we're trying to keep clean, and then we put it on. And then we put it on and wear it. So if you're doing even just regular truck checks, so we check our trucks every day to make sure they're ready to go, even just opening our doors goes right over, and if it's not parked perfectly, you hit and you damage the paint, you can't get in and out. So it's very, very tight. This is our EMS equipment. So this is the cleanest place we can get to put our equipment that actually goes on people. So, you know, you can see we're spilling out. We've got things on top of everything. And on top of that, our fire alarm system's in the same room, our copier's in the same room. And then the only bathroom that we could separate for our female firefighter is right here. So one thing that Easton Fire doesn't have in any facility is a training room, conference room. We have no place to have meetings. If I wanted to bring a few people in to have a meeting, I have no space in any of the stations. This is the culmination of any place we could go to bring anybody. So if we had to have a department training, this would be the only space, and we can't fit all of our firefighters in here.
Yeah, so this building was never built for the equipment that we have today. This is the shop floor. This is where we maintain our equipment and park some equipment indoors during inclement weather, but we can only really fit a handful of vehicles inside. We have 60 vehicles in the DPW fleet. Most of them are outside, and that's not a great thing for our fleet. It shortens the life of the vehicles. So this is the lean-to structure. This is built to at least keep the trucks under cover, which is nice, but this is well past its prime. The size of our vehicles have gotten bigger over the years, so we can only use a few of these bays for our bigger trucks. The older ones can fit on some of those smaller bays.
Some of the deficiencies is, you know, they don't have adequate lighting, they don't have adequate ventilation, not enough height to actually lift the trucks appropriately to work on them, which also causes injuries for employees. working in awkward positions. Also, you know, typically you would see these buildings sprinklered. This building is currently not sprinklered. And then the floor drains for the appropriate drainage, which do not work here anymore. Therefore, you know, it is not environmentally friendly when trucks and vehicles leak.
Yeah. During winter operations, you'll see melting snow off vehicles if they come in to be maintained because they've, say, blew a hose, and hydraulic oil and melt water will puddle a couple inches deep all through the garage. And that's not a, you know, a safe environment for people to work, not a safe thing for our mechanics to try to repair those vehicles in those conditions. So in this area we have our fluid storage, lack of secondary containment, which is no longer up to code. So this is primarily the locker storage for the seasonal employees we have. We hire about 10 seasonal employees to mow lawns at the schools and throughout town. And so this is where they kind of muster the heat here with the trucks and the fumes. This is a storage for our some of our most expensive vehicles, our grapple and our bucket truck. And then we have so this is our only two that are dedicated inside storage. They barely fit in here. And we're going to be going for a new grapple truck soon. So we're going to have to spec it out so it actually will fit in here, because a modern grapple truck probably wouldn't fit in this space. There's overhead storage, but it's not appropriate. It's not load rated. It doesn't have railings, doesn't have the proper heights once you're up there, doesn't have the proper means to get up there, but we have no alternative. All that equipment has to be somewhere, or it's going to be outside. So this is a staff office in here. It's basically a closet storage area / supervisor's office. Again, not the ideal. Supervisor should have a proper office, and that's where we stand. The biggest issues here are the environmental non-compliance and worker health and safety.